we're discussing the power of Ani. Ani is the real me. How much can be achieved with the real me? But it's a struggle, it's a challenge, constantly being the real me. The real me means the soul is pure. It is as it was when it was given to us. It's then clearly connected to Hashem, which is a chelek eloka mimal. It's a part of Hashem. It's clear. It's connected. A person has what's called v'dovakto b'Hashem, dveikut b'Hashem. He can cleave to Hashem because he's the real me. He's the real soul. The soul can connect with the chelek eloka mimal, with Hashem. I saw in a book by Rav Prozansky, who brings great stories of inspiration. And he tells the story of a certain Rav Rabinovich from Bnei Brak. This Rav Rabinovich one day gets a call that a terrible thing has happened. His son was in a car accident. He is critical. He should come immediately to Asaf Harofeh Hospital near Be'er Yaakov in the middle of Israel. He dashes off to the hospital, trying to say Tehillim on the way, trying to say verses of Psalms, praying for his son's life. And he arrives at the hospital in a tremendous state of panic and nervousness. Is my son alive? Is everything okay? And he's told, yes, he's alive, but he has to go into urgent emergency surgery. You need to sign documents to give the permission for the surgery. We're taking him right into surgery. We've got the team of surgeons assembled to try and save his life. So he can barely sign. He's so nervous. And he signs, and he's shaking and shivering, and then he says to himself, but I'm a believing Jew. I've got to connect with Hashem. And instead of sitting outside the waiting room of a surgery, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, he looks for the nearest synagogue. There's a synagogue in this little hospital in Asaf Harofeh, it's called. The Asaf Harofeh Hospital. He walks into the synagogue. It's not at the time of prayers. The synagogue is empty. He goes to the bookshelf and he finds a Sefer Tehillim, a book of Psalms, and he opens it randomly. He opens it to Perek Ayin Gimel, randomly, 73, chapter 73. And he starts reading. He's immediately engaged because this chapter starts off, Tfilah LaAsaf. He is in Asaf Harofeh Hospital. So he says, wow, this is the right Perek I'm on. And as he starts reading, he gets to Pasuk Chaf Gimel, the Pasuk 23. And the Pasuk says as follows, Va'ani tamid imach achazta b'yad yemini. I'll translate. Va'ani tamid imach. If I am always with you, Hashem, then achazta b'yad yamini. Then you will hold on to my right hand and guide me and help me and assist me. What is required of a man if he wishes to get the assistance of Hashem? He needs to be va'ani tamid imach. I am always with you, Hashem. You are constantly in my upper mind, my upper heart. I'm constantly thinking of you. Ani tamid imach. When the ani tamid imach, achazta biyad yamini. Then I know you will hold my right hand and you will guide me and you will help me. But what is required, exactly the message that we've said before, is the message of Elul. Ani ledodi, dodi li. If I am with everything towards Hashem, Hashem will be in kind, He will respond in kind to me. Va'ani tamid imach. If I am constantly with you, Hashem, achazta biyad yamini. You will hold my right hand. And he starts saying this pasuk, this Rav Rabinovich, at a time of great distress, his child's in surgery, fighting for his life. And he starts saying this pasuk. He opens up the Aron Kodesh. It's an empty synagogue. And he starts saying it over and over again. And he starts pondering. And he starts probing into the depth of this pasuk. And the depth of the pasuk is Va'ani. I. If the real me is Tamid Imach, the real me means the pure, holy me. The side of me, the ani, that is not encumbered and not engulfed with all kinds of undesirables perpetrated by my sins. If it's ani, the real me, tamid imach, and I'm always with Hashem. Hashem is present in every aspect and fiber of my life. Achazta biyad yamini, you will hold my hand. And he started saying this. He started meditating on this one pasuk. And he started saying it over and over again aloud. Va'ani, tamid imach, is it the real me? And am I always with you? And he worked on himself. And he plumbed to the depth of his soul. Va'ani, am I tamid imach? Then va'achazta biyad yamini, then you'll hold my hand. You'll guide me. You'll save my son. You'll give us a great life. And this went on for an entire hour. He stood in front of the Aron Kodesh, saying this pasuk, saying this verse over and over again, repeating it every time with a new meaning, every time peeling another layer of his soul. At the end of an hour, where he felt completely satiated, but he felt he was a new person, he walked out of the synagogue to the waiting room just in time to meet a smiling surgeon who came out and said, we saved his life. Your son's going to be okay. There's going to be a period of convalescence, but he's going to be okay. We saved him. Of course, great simcha and great joy. Now he's got to be with him for another several weeks in the hospital as he recovers, and the son recovers fully. On the day that they leave the hospital, Rav Rabinovich is leaving with his healthy son. On that day, as they're walking towards the door, he's approached by another patient, a gentleman and his wife. The gentleman is wearing the pajamas of the hospital. He's a patient. And the man walks up to him and says, we want to thank you for giving us life. He looked at this man. He said, I'm sorry, sir. There must be a mistake. I don't believe we've ever met. The man said, oh yes, I know you. You may not know me. I was admitted to the hospital. I was a secular Jew a few weeks ago, admitted to the hospital with a very serious diagnosis. I did not have faith and belief as you had, and I went into a total panic. I went into a total depression about my diagnosis. And that day I walked past in depression, and I walked past the synagogue. And there I heard a voice coming from that synagogue. And I heard you saying there, meditating on this pasuk, Va'ani tamid imach, achazta biyad yamini. And if I am always with you, you will hold my hand. And I stood there mesmerized, listening to this verse. And as you were saying it and internalizing, so I stood there and listened and internalized and began to look into myself and began to explore and began to do soul searching. It reached a point when I became so enthused and so engaged, I felt I must bring my wife. I ran to bring my wife. And I said, come. And we both came and we silently stood at the back of the synagogue, listening to you, saying this verse over and over and over again. And every time we were listening, it started penetrating us. It penetrated our souls. And then, towards the end, as you were about to finish, we slipped out of the synagogue. New people. I called my family and said, send me a siddur, a kippah, and my talit and tefillin. I'm going to be chozer b'tshuva. I'm going to return back to Hashem. And that's what we did. You gave us faith. You didn't even know you gave us faith. But you gave us faith when you injected into the very depths of our soul the concept of Ani tamid imach, when I am always with you, achazta biyad yamini, you will be there for me. You, Hashem, will hold my hand, and therefore you gave me new life. We are now Shomrei Torah Mitzvot. We are now observant Jews. Thank you.